Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Shall we begin the conference now?
Hey, Shengnan, let's wait a couple minutes just to see if more people show up.
Okay.
Right now, between the chairs and you, the presenter, we have more than other participants. So let's give him a couple minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Bruno, we lost your share. I'm guessing maybe you're loading the latest slides.
I haven't done anything, but I can share again.
Sorry.
Do you still have slide control, or should I record on give it back to you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And Bruno, just to make sure, these are the slides from this morning, right?
This is revision 1, so I guess it's better than revision 0.
03 or 0, yeah, 03, I guess. I don't know what the number is. But yeah, I approved some slides, I don't know, 20 minutes ago.
This is the last one I'm seeing.
Yep, so it's probably it, yeah. So I think it's already 6 minutes past the hour. And right now we have more participants than presenters. So that's a good thing. Usually these interims have not proved to be very large, but we have always had good discussion. And we hope that that is the same here today. So the objective is not to just hear a presentation, but to discuss. We asked Shengnan and the other authors of draft Yang Spring is our policy NRP to lead the discussion. So the discussion is not specifically about the draft, but about how the working group, we believe the NRP should be expressed when we use SR. So that's what we want the discussion to be about. The first part of the presentation presents different mechanisms and talks about pros and cons. We probably want to stop a little bit after slide 4 or so to get impressions. This is the only presentation, so we have a lot of time. If at any point you want to say anything, please get yourself on the queue, and we can spend all the time that is needed talking about everything as we go through. Again, the objective is to hopefully come out of here with at least some sense of preference of how and maybe why we want to do things a specific way. Bruno, Joel, do you want to add anything else, please? Or please add something else, should be what I say.
I don't have anything to add. You laid it out. The point is to discuss and, if possible, have a conclusion we can then take and confirm on the list how the working group wants to approach representing NRPs in SR packets.
This may be related to a draft in IDR working group. And so IDR chair sent an email recently for Spring to consider and to answer on some points.
Yes, there are actually, we did get email, you probably saw it on the list from the ADR chairs. There are many drafts already around that talk about NRP in different working groups. I see Drew, there's been some NRP related stuff in PCE, for example, and other places. So I don't know, maybe keep that in mind as well. Okay, Shengnan, go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm Shengran Yue from China Mobile. So our topic is to discuss how NRPs should be expressed in packets use SR. So we will introduce the background and the compare the NRP approaches in data plan and the SR policy for NRP and the procedures. And maybe if we have time, we can discuss the use case. For NRP and SR, network resource partition NRP is a subset of resource and associated policies in the underlying network. It can be used to support one or a group of network services, and the segment routing SR achieves the source routing by encapsulating packets with an ordered list of instructions called segments. So a segment may be associated with a topological instruction, a service instruction, or a specific packet treatment. So how to express the NLP with SR? There are two approaches to realize the NLP with SR. The first approach is to introduce the resource awareness to segment identifier. The segment IDs indicate both the instruction and the set of resource to be used. And the second approach is to introduce a dedicated data plan identifier, that is NLP select ID, to SR packets, and both the seed list and the NLP selector ID needs to be carried in packet. So here we compare the two approaches. With the resource awareness approach, it gives the resource symmetrics to SRCs, and it has the minimum change to SR forwarding, because it can reuse the existing SR data plan. However, it allocates different groups of seeds for different NLPs, and it brings additional overhead in control plan and network management. For example, in this figure, so we need a triple seeds with the resource semantic indices. We need to have A1 color 1, A1 color 2, and A1 color 3. So this approach is suitable for the small number NLPs. For the second selector, NLP select ID approach, it need to introduce the dedicated NLP ID in packets, and this approach needs the data plan extension, and the encapsulation is protocol specific. So packet forwarding based on both the seeds and the IFR seeds and the ARP ID. And fortunately, there is no additional seeds allocated for NRP, so it has a better scalability. For example, so we both we have the same seeds, A1 colon 1 in 3 NRP, and we have the different selector NRP select ID S1, S2, and S3. So this approach is applicable to large amount NRP deployment. So with the
so before we go there, go back one, please. So there's a question from Michael in the chat that says, what is the order of small and large? Are we talking about, I don't know, on the order of thousands of routers, or what are we talking about? Maybe, Michael, you want to phrase that better than I did.
Well, okay, so the point is, this small and large is not the number of routers. It's the number of NRPs that you have to, number of distinct NRPs, network resource partitions, you're supporting in your network. And my impression is that small is something like less than 10 or less than 20, and the clear large is something larger than 100. And where in between there the exact line is yet to be determined. But it's not the, Alvaro, you referred to the number of routers. That's not the question under discussion. It's the number of NRPs, which the presentation is clear on. Thank you, Sheng. I just thought it would be helpful if I clarified.
So before we go on, I would like to hear from people in the working group about these two approaches. Which one do you like? Which one you don't like? Do you like something else? Both? Nothing? Any opinions, thoughts? Because this is what we're here to discuss, right? The different approaches. Kevin, please go ahead.
Hi, Ketan Talaulikar, and throughout this interim, I'm speaking as a working group member, participant, not as an AD. Just want to put that up front for almost everything here. So I think for the first thing on the left-hand side, my understanding, and I'm not really caught up with all the latest updates. My understanding is that this is the case where the NRPs have 1:1 association with routing concepts like multi-topology or flexalgo and such things. That is where that 10 or so number that Joel mentioned come up. And if for the large one, it would be on the right side, which is what is it? So I guess both the approaches are valid and useful. What is important is to capture these scalability things somewhere. Maybe that's in T's, not Spring. And I would like to ask whether my understanding of the thing on the left side is correct, that there is a 1:1 mapping between an NRP or an multi-topology or flexalgo.
The one-to-one mapping case is a subcase of the left side. You can do the left side without necessarily having one topology per NRP. It's more interesting in terms of how you represent it in the advertisements, but it can be done. The only protocol proposal that addresses this, well, no, there are protocol proposals which use the left-hand side approach, which are not tied to multi-topology. There are also protocol proposals which are tied to multi-topology. It's not, don't couple the left-hand side to must have a topology per NRP. That's yet another question that can be asked. That's speaking as a participant in T's and IDR and things, not as Spring co-chair.
Yeah, so I think on that front, then I would like to draw attention to the overhead in control plane and the network management and all of that. So I would welcome some clarity or further detailed discussion on if we as in the working group should have the left side only for the 1:1 mapping, and if not, then yes, it has implications on the routing protocols.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to give some clarification about the left-hand side approach. I think in the Spring document, SR4 enhanced VPN, there's as Joe just mentioned, there are two options to, if we use resource ORC as a data plane, there can be, the first option is the one-to-one mapping between the NRP and the topology of flexalgo. In that case, the control plane overhead can be large if there's a relatively large number of NRPs needed. Well, there can also be N-to-1 mapping between the NRPs and the topology or algorithm, so that the control plane overhead can be reduced, but there's still, we need additional seeds for each NRPs, so that the overhead in the data plane cannot be reduced. So these two approaches both have been discussed and specified in the draft. And so I think maybe each have their pros and cons, but we think we just give them as an option for people to choose. If they have small requirements on the NRPs, they can choose one-to-one mapping. But if they want more, they can also choose N-to-1 mapping.
Ken, go ahead.
Yeah. So since we have, I guess we are going with two approaches. It's not one or the other. At least that's my understanding. I'm just wondering why, if you could draw a line where we say that, hey, if you are doing something that has not 1:1 relationship, where the existing control plane scalability and everything, is kind of affected, then why not switch at that point to the one on the right? So why introduce the additional load of carrying and signaling all those SIDs on a per NRP basis in routing protocols when we have a better scalable option on the right hand side? The question is there like more like a decision point where we flip to the right side if that is the requirement?
So this may be a good time for a little commercial. As you guys all know, because it's been presented in the routing area and other places, there's a push to do operational considerations for all drafts going forward. So this sounds like a good operational consideration topic, right? When is it appropriate to use the mechanism? When it may not become appropriate to use the mechanism? And to the point I think, Kevin, that you're getting to is, if you start with 2 NRPs, for example, and you think you're going to grow to thousands at some point, does that mean that you should start with one mechanism and then switch to the other? And how do you do that? Or does that mean that you should just start with the better scalable one from the start, even if you only have 2, for example? Yes, we'll make sure that the drafts have clear operational considerations. I don't know if that's where you're going, but please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add that the difference between these two approaches, the left-hand side one, we can with the left-hand side one, we can reuse existing data plane. So only if we need more NRPs, we can extend the control plane to have better scalability. But if we use the right-hand side approach that needs the data plane extension, we need to carry a new ID in the packet. So that is some, maybe for some operators, this is they had to make the choice whether they can do the new data plane with their existing routers and upgrade software only. That is something maybe they need to consider. So we just need to give all these options for them to choose. Yeah.
I just want to clarify one thing, G, and if I misrepresent what you say, please correct me. The right-hand side needs new enhancements in the data plane, but it may well not need new data planes. MPLS has MPLS network actions, SRv6 has TLVs, so there'll still be MPLS or SRv6 data planes, but they would need new enhancements and new features that would have to be supported by the routers. We're not talking about whether you would support a whole new data plane. That would be a much bigger ask.
Yeah, you're right. I need to maybe modify this sentence. It's an enhancement to the data in the data plane to existing protocols.
So any other opinions, questions, suggestions, proposals? So go ahead.
Yeah. So just observation in that on the left hand side, the solution in the left hand side, let's stick to what I mean. I was thinking about 1:1 relationship between NRP and MT or algo. In that case, the MT and algo serves dual purpose. One is that it also identifies the topology subset for the NRP and also is an indicator of the NRP itself, right? We know at every hop what is the resource for that NRP. On the right hand side, the concept of the NRP and the topology itself is diverse. I mean, is diverse, is orthogonal. So, which means that there is two different distinct things. One is routing to ensure that the packet stays within routers belonging to that NRP, and then the NRP indication in the packet itself. If my understanding is correct, it would be good to capture this somewhere.
I believe that's already captured in Mathi's NRP documents. That NRPs are the topological enforcement is a separate matter from NRP treatment. That's in Mathi's documents.
Yes, I remember that. But I was bringing this up in the context of comparison between these two approaches, if that could be called out. But again, maybe I'm assuming 1:1 relationship between NRP and MT and algo, which is probably not how it is.
Yeah, I think here we just want to compare the data plane functionality between these two approaches for the topology one-to-one mapping or either N2-1 mapping. That will need more clarification, but I think if needed, we can also discuss that on this meeting.
So it sounds to me that what we're saying is there are two approaches. We need to characterize them well, adequately, clearly on the drafts. Clearly talk about the applicability, operational considerations, etc., so that operators who are going to implement this can make a decision on where they want to go. The part of I start with 2 NRPs and eventually I'm going to scale to 1,000 where I may need to transition from one mechanism to the other seems of course very complicated to me because now you have a transition in technology. But that may be something that we need to also clarify very well and document on how you would do that, right? Thinking of operations. Is that what everyone else is seeing in the room, especially Bruno and Joel? Is this what everyone thinks is the path forward that we need to eventually confirm on the list?
Joel, we do not hear you. In the meantime, yes, I agree. Better characterization in terms of scaling, operational considerations, migrations, maybe hardware impact or data plane impact. Because if we just look at the slides, clearly one seems better than the other. So they're probably other than what is described in the slide.
Joel, were you going to say something? Oh, we didn't hear.
I was going to comment that I would hope to hear from more people, because
Yes.
what I'm hearing is nobody saying we can get away with just one of these two. I really wish we could get away with just one, but I don't think we can. And more importantly, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not hearing any working group members asking us to do just one. Alvaro, your point about making sure we have good operational consideration sections to explain how you use these things is clearly well taken.
So does anyone want to advocate now for just one, or just so you know? Okay. Bruno.
Speaking as a network operator, one would be better. But the elephant in the room is whether data planes are ready, both SRv6 and MPLS are ready to carry an RPID, not in terms of specification, but in terms of hardware availability and deployments.
So, Ken, to your comment on the chat there, your concern about the implications are as it scales.
Yes. So if it had to be one, then kind of, I mean, I guess it's clear that the one on the right is what scales and works. What works for 100, hundreds will also work for less than 10. But the other way is not the case. And that's my worry. If the one on the left, and I understand why, like it may not be ready and things like that, or the one on the right, but I'm really concerned and careful on the one on the left being, adding more things in the control plane, increasing the signaling, and doing all sorts of things. So that's my concern. Yeah, I mean, ideal world, we should have only one on the right.
Okay, anyone else, or should we move on? I think, okay, Ran, you were going to say something? Yeah.
Yeah. For my company, we have implemented two methods. The first method is currently used more in the existing network. So I think both of them is very good for us.
Do you mean you would deploy both?
Yeah, our company have implemented two methods.
Okay, so.
Okay, so even though we don't require implementations in Spring, just a reminder that we do require an implementation report. So it's going to be important as we move these things forward that we have all that information in the drafts as well. So, Li Yang, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Lian. I'd like to offer some reference from the perspective of the operator. I also think that both approaches have different scenarios to apply. And just as shown on side, the left side is suitable for the small number of NRPs, and the right side is more applicable to the large number of the NRP. Also, we have discussed how much the number needs the small number and the large account, the difference. I'd like to give some example for the China Mobile Network. For example, in our backbone network, we have more than 1,000 routers, and in one network. And in this network, we want to apply the network slice. I think even though we just have a small number of NRPs, but the scale of the network is so big that if we use the left one, I think there will be so many awareness source SW6. So I think this will bring a large burden to the network for the routers. So in this scenario, we'd like to choose the right side method. But also we have some another scenarios, because we have also think about this scenario for the hierarchical network slice. For this scenario, we have maybe more than 2-level network slice. So maybe the first level is for the large scale, or for example, for the manufacturing, how to say it, granularity, the bigger granularity scenarios. So in this situation, we think that we have the condition to apply the aware resource aware SW6. For example, we can allocate different SW6 for different flex algo, and we can use the control plane and the current SRv6 forwarding plane to apply the network slice solution. So I also think that both approaches has their own pros and cons. So in my opinion, I prefer to leave these two approaches to the users to choose. This is my opinion. Maybe it's not very exact or very suitable, but we have also in our network solution for the network slice, we have applied two of these both. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Li Yang. All input is important. Safar, you're next.
I had some issue joining in the beginning, but I joined a bit late. So I'm sorry if I missed something and I'm repeating something. I apologize for that. So I think there are a couple of things. One is that there are changes with respect to the data plane that are happening in different groups. And TEAS is the home of that, but then the work is done in MPLS and Sixpence. And in my opinion, and in my opinion, like Spring is to follow what is going on with the greater umbrella of things and not introduce something new or rehash things that are discussed earlier in that broader context. For example, the option on the left has been discussed in broader context for in LSR and in other places where the issue with the scaling was discussed, and I just like to avoid rehashing and the work on the right. Like there's a lot of work that's going on in Sixpen, and we can just reference that work. But that is my concern and comment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the discussion so far. We still have some slides to go, unless anyone wants to say anything right now. We're going to go ahead. Okay, Shangnan, go ahead.
Oh, okay, let's go ahead. With the resource awareness approach, the existing SR policy can support it. Then with the NRP selector idea approach, so how to support the NRP under SR policy. So our draft describes the SR policy extension to enable NRP association, and there are 3 points for the candidate path to NRP association. Each candidate path of an SR policy must be associated with an NRP, and the NRP selector ID assigned to each candidate path may be the same or different, and all segment lists belonging to a candidate path are associated with its assigned NRP and share its allocated resource side. And we update the SR policy information model as the following. The SR policy POL1 has 2 candidate paths, CP1 and CP2, and CP1 is the active candidate path with the highest preference 200, and the NRP selector ID 100 is configured, and CP1 will the select NRP selector ID 200 is configured, and CP2, and the 3 segment list of CP1 with NRP selector ID 100 are installed as the forwarding instantiation of the SR policy POI1, and the NRP-ID 100 needs to be configured and the resource reserved on the path traversed by segment list 1, 2, and 3. So when the traffic is steered on POI1, NRP 100 is added into the packet data packet, and the forwarding is based on the resource pointed by the NRP select 100. And here is the procedures. So NRP SR policy CP may be instantiated with a specific NRP on the headed node via a local configuration, PCEP or BGP SR policy signaling. And the SR policy headed and the node H1 steers the service traffic into the SR policy and selects the active path CP1 and encapsulates the packets, hiding the segment list and NRP ID1. And each transit node like node B and node C reads the NRP ID in the packet and schedules it to the dedicated resource reserved for the NRP, such as HQ's queue for forwarding. And because we have time, we can also introduce a use case. So here we have two SRv6 policy, the color red and the color blue, and the color blue as a policy has the NRP ID 100, and the second policy has the NRP ID 200. So this here we have the use case. The first we need to analyze the user requirements and plan NRP resource and path, and create the NRP instance and slash channels under each interface. So here we create a write NRP with ID 100 associated the bandwidth of 50 M and blue NRP with ID 200 with different bandwidth, and in the second step, the BGP service routes may carry the color via the extended community attribute, and then the controller provisions SRv6 policies with slicing information via PCE or BGP. So the SRv6 policy color red associated with the RP ID 100 and the blue one associated with the RP ID 200, and then the slash traffic is steered to the corresponding SRv6 policy and based on the color, and then the forwarding plan carries the NRP ID via the maybe the source address or HBH. The transit device forwards the traffic by further looking up the resource queue based on the NRP ID, and the head and the transit device reports the need to report the NRP statistics, and the head and device will report the SRv6 policy status. And okay, that's all. Thank you.
Comments, questions?
Maybe one comment. I think I understood that most people, if not everyone, find that the approach on the right, so the one with an RPID encoded in a data plane specific extension, so that approach seems valid and future-proof. If so, that seems to call for a need to be able to encode an RPID in the SR policy. No. to be able to encode it? Or not? Is that a correct summary, or?
I'm not sure I understood what you were trying to get at, Bruno. If your point is, if you've deployed approach right, approach R, I don't want to say right because that might be confused with wrong, approach R, then you don't need to do approach L. Well, that's true. But if you're using approach L, you don't need to do approach R. And there are networks where approach L may well be easier to deploy. But obviously, if you have, the interesting thing is, if you have upgraded your data plane to be able to support approach R using either MNA or SRv6 TLVs, you can still choose to use approach L if you want to. Then it'll still work. Your control plane, the question is whether you have the control plane support for L or R then. But just because if enough operators ask for R and vendors implement it, that doesn't prohibit operators from using L. So this is a cleaner dual choice than some of the other cases we've had in the past.
I agree with you. My point was that approach R seems to be valid, and if so, we need a way to express the NRPID in the SR policy, which I think was one of the questions we wanted to discuss. I was not trying to say that option L was not useful. I was trying to say that if option R is a good one or future-proof one, we need to be able to use it.
If people want R, which I think a significant number of people do, then they have to do the work to define the MNA action in the MPLS working group or the SRv6 TLV somewhere between the 6-man working group and Spring. The SRv6 SRH extensions, it's unclear which working group actually owns that, the TLV problem, but I think it's 6-man. But the point is, yes, if people want to see approach R, we need proposals. But I believe, for example, for MNA, there already are some proposals on the table in the MPLS working group for doing so.
Yes, I was referring to proposal in Spring to express an RPID in the SR policy, to be able to say, well, for that SR policy, I want to use that NRPD
Well,
ID.
that would be either PCE or IDR, I think. We don't get to define the encoding.
Absolutely.
We could say we'd like to have it, which is a nice thing to say to people, but as Dhruv would correct me if I tried to overreach, it's up to PCE or IDR to decide how to encode that and whether to.
Sure. The question is whether we need it. Do we want to express the need, or at the opposite, to say no, we don't need it. Do we need a PC extension to say, well, for that SR policy, I
we have some people in the queue, so the chairs should let the people in the queue speak. Ketan, go ahead.
Okay, so I think this may be related to what Bruno was asking. The solution for SR policy, I didn't understand clearly whether it was for the left or the right or both. I I got the impression that it was perhaps only for the one on the left, as Bruno mentioned, which is that the SR policy is set up, or the segment lists are set up using the SIDs which are on the left. But I'm not sure. So that was my question. Is a solution for both left and right, or only for one of them?
So we think with the first approach, when the existing SR policy can support it. So we didn't talk much about it in this slide.
So the proposal is on the one on the left is what's targeted?
No, what she
No.
said was what's on the left is already covered. What's targeted is the one on the right. That's what she said.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood that. So then I believe the NRP selector ID which is given is actually the one identifier on the data plane, right? It's a data plane identifier which is supposed to be encoded in the packet. And this is what Bruno was asking, I believe. Or did I understand it wrong?
Yes, that's my point. Thank you, Ketan.
Zafar, go ahead.
Okay, so I actually have two comments. So comment on the policy side of things is that and I'm going to comment based on NRP ID. So one on the right, encoding NRP ID in the data plane. That depends on the data model for the policy, whether this is a policy attribute or it's a candidate path attribute. The way it's presented is a candidate path attribute, or is encoded in the intent itself, because it's a matter of the headend picking up the right and putting in the right NRP ID as it steers the traffic into a policy. So that would be, I would say, where I would start on that discussion. And based on the data model, then the rest of the things will follow based on the right data model. That's one. And the second is I'm coming back to this discussion on the proposal. So the left and the right. So the proposal about carrying an RPID in packet, that is a work that is coming along with 6-man MPLS working group, and that is where things are on. So I think this is progressing well in IETF, and Spring can use what is being defined in other working group and do the changes for the policy as there is a need. Compared to one on the left, which is the using existing SR or adding SITs, there was a lot of discussion in LSR working group where the issue lies, and there was serious concern in that working group about the scaling of this, and that has to be dealt with, and it's already dealt with. So I think we're kind of rehashing all of this here now, but this is not a very Spring specific issue. It's also like intersection with other working group and what discussion has happened in TEAS and LSR and other places. So I'll say that let's stick with what has been discussed and commented already. Thank you.
Okay. In case it's unclear, in the end, the chairs will try to write a summary of what we heard from this group and then try to send clear questions to the list to confirm from the working group whatever conclusions, which I think people know what conclusions we think we heard, but we will write it up and we will send it to the list, and it will be discussed on the list, because an interim is not, as the word goes, dispositive. It's not the final say on what the Spring Working Group does. And that can then help, once we have an answer on the working group list, we will state whether there is a rough consensus, and that may help some of the other groups know what we think is sensible in terms of the segment routing architecture overall. We will obviously not take stances on how to encode things. That's not our business.
So far, are you back on the queue, or are you there from last time?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Ketan.
Yeah, there is another aspect about SR policy and NRP, which is the path calculation aspect. This is about kind of giving an indication that an SR policy needs to be computed within NRP topology, and what kind of resources are required, and stuff like that. This is more applicable for PSEP, but and I know I let Drew jump in, but also has implications on IDR encodings. So it would be good if something, I don't know, again, this is more of an invitation for Drew to pitch in on whether we need Spring to say something about it in one of its documents, or we let PSEP take care of it, or whether there are existing things that already covers it. But I'm pretty sure there is nothing. Yeah, I mean, there is a new draft I saw. I didn't read about NRP in PSEP, but I just wanted to open the discussion on that other aspect, which is the path computation aspect.
There are some comments in the T's adopted RFCs on the relationship to path computation to try to keep that bound from becoming a major problem. But different people probably read the words in those RFCs somewhat differently, so I won't claim it is fully put to bed.
So Drew seems to be going in and out from the connection side, so that's why he's probably not saying anything. Anyone else?
Yeah, so basically, maybe more for the list, then please consider the path computation aspect as well, because there should be, I mean, it would be good to have some base or reference in the Spring, in a Spring document. Maybe it's this one that talks about path computation, and the actual stuff, encoding and all of that can be done in PSEP, and similar thing can be included in IDR as well.
Okay, so as Joel said, we're going to summarize what we heard here, and we're going to go to the list with that summary and some questions so that we can get consensus on the list by the working group. Ideally, we will get this done before the IETF. There might be some additional discussion there as well. Thank you, everyone, for the discussion. We had good discussion, which was the objective of the interim. And thank you, Shengnan and the other authors for leading the discussion. Unless anyone wants to say anything else, I think we're done for today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and we'll see you soon in Montreal.